the officers basically have total discretion to consider any variable to see if you're likely to be a public charge at any time in the future. So if the officer doesn't like you and wants to deny your case, I could come up with some arguments for pretty much anyone arguing that they might be a public charge in the future, with some limited exceptions. Hey guys, so it's finally happening. The Trump administration has proposed a new USCIS rule last week on November 19th that would increase the ways that a USCIS officer can deny applications for adjustment of status or immigrant visas at the consulates abroad based on public charge determinations. So up until now, the changes that the Trump administration has made to the adjustment of status process for family-based immigration has been very limited. In fact, the changes that have been made have largely benefited my clients because it's just mostly increased the processing times. And there have been other changes as well, like if an application gets denied, you're going to be placed into deportation proceedings if you're not otherwise lawfully present in the United States. So the consequences and the stakes are way higher. But if you have a strong, winnable case and you submit everything properly, there's a good chance that your case will be approved. Like a marriage-based green card case right now in New York could get approved start to finish in less than 3 months, which is record time and amazing for most of my clients. So the Trump administration has created this infrastructure to rapidly adjudicate and make decisions on green card applications. Start to finish, they'll make a decision. If the case gets approved, great, you get your green card. If the case gets denied, you're likely going to be placed into deportation proceedings, which my hunch is the real motive behind accelerating these cases. It's just going to ramp up the total number of deportation cases. So now that this rapid infrastructure is in place, now it's time for the Trump administration to begin reducing the number of people who actually qualify for permanent residence. That's exactly what this rule does. This new public charge rule gets rid of the old standards that USCIS was implementing, where they would apply the exact same standards to each person in a recognizable way that follows a system. And now the officers basically have total discretion to consider any variable to see if you're likely to be a public charge at any time in the future. So if the officer doesn't like you and wants to deny your case, I could come up with some arguments for pretty much anyone arguing that they might be a public charge in the future, with some limited exceptions. This is not surprising to me. In fact, about a year ago, before the Trump administration was even in power, I created a video saying that these public charge rules are going to change and it's going to increase the number of immigrants who are disqualified from becoming permanent residents. When I created that video, there was a lot of negative response. People commented on the video and said things like, "You don't know what you're talking about. Who is this guy? Is he even a real lawyer?" And other people were defending me, saying, actually, if you remember during the last Trump administration, this is exactly what he did. And that's correct. So during Trump's last administration, I think it was around his 3rd year, he created a declaration of self-sufficiency. There was a whole additional form added to the adjustment of status process. It was like a 26-page form, and it required you to indicate all the ways in which you could support yourself. They wanted to know all of your work qualifications, all the languages you speak, your education, what resources you have available to you, what are your assets like, what are your bank account balances. It was a really intense form, and it actually doubled the amount of work that a lawyer needed to do to apply for adjustment of status. So it actually caused a lot of attorney fees to go up as well. What happened was a court struck this down after a couple months. So it kind of just died in its tracks after a couple months. And I do expect something similar to happen this time around. Now, the Trump administration is doing a much better job of implementing its priorities this time around than it did last time around. In fact, the last time around, the reason the court struck it down was because the rulemaking procedure was defective. So now the Trump administration has issued a new proposed rule There's a 30-day comment period. There's no effective date. There's no final version of the rule yet. We don't know exactly when this will go into effect. But it seems that now the Trump administration is clearly trying to reduce the total number of people who are becoming permanent residents. Tomorrow, I'm gonna post another video that's related to this topic that explains how this rule is gonna impact the strength of applications that are filed in the adjustment of status process versus the consular process. And we're gonna be discussing cases that might have both options available, which option is the best option for you and your family, and what things should you consider. So if you're interested and you have a family member who's eligible for adjustment of status in the US or consular processing, that might be a good video for you to watch. And if you want to stay on point, on topic with all these videos, up to date with everything that's happening, all the changes under the Trump administration, be sure to subscribe to my channel. And if you need any assistance with these immigration matters yourself, I focus on family-based immigration, spouse petitions, petitions for parents, petitions for children, naturalization applications, and we also do deportation defense litigation. If you need any assistance with that, you can find my direct consultation link in the video description below, or you can go to my website, darianlaw.com, to schedule a consultation there. If you guys want to stay up to date, be sure to subscribe. And if you want to see that video tomorrow about adjustment of status versus consular processing with this new public charge rule, be sure to stay tuned. I'll see you guys tomorrow for another video.